Hi friends, it's Grace and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be doing my August wrap up, just slightly late, but that's okay. The one downside to this is that what I read at the beginning of August feels like quite a long time ago, so I'm going to do my best to capture those feelings so that I can tell you how I was feeling about the books that I was reading. But I read 7 things in the month of August, which is pretty good for me. That's definitely like slightly above average for my general number of books in a month, so I'm definitely happy about that. And the ratings were really positive as well. I don't think I gave anything less than a 4-star, and I'll just tally them up. So yeah, I had 2 4.25 star reads for the month, 2 4.75 stars, and then the remaining 3 were 5-star reads. So fantastic reading month for me. I don't know, maybe I was a little generous, but I really did enjoy all of these things. So I'm just gonna go in the order that I read them for the month. So actually, you know what, I'm gonna deviate that just slightly because 2 of them are from the same series, so I can get those out of the way first, and that is going to be The Long Price Quartet by Daniel Abraham. So the very first thing that I read in the month of August was Betrayal in Winter, the second book in this series, and then the, I think, 4th thing or 5th thing that I read in August was the third book, An Autumn War. So this is one of my favorite series, and so I knew that rereading it was going to be a positive experience, but both of these books were 5 stars. All 3 of them so far on reread have been 5 stars. I just love this series. I don't really know how to talk about the second and third books here without spoilers, but just the general positives are how masterful Daniel Abraham is with characters. This series does span quite a number of years, with approximately about 13 to 15 years between each book in the series. So we start when our characters, at least most of our main characters, are in their late teens or around 20. Then we have a book with them where they're in their early to mid 30s, and then the next time we meet them they're in their late 40s, and so that is where they are in An Autumn War, the third book in the series. And the building, the foreshadowing and just kind of the world building and everything in this series is quieter and more subtle than it would be in other epic fantasies, and I don't mind when world building is an important part of the story, but Daniel Abraham just does it so well where the characters are very much the focus and each individual installment is character driven, and the world building and stuff, the plot that is slowly building over the course of the series, it's still very important, but it's kind of building and developing in the background or as a result of decisions that our characters make rather than the other way around, and I really love that about it. I also I forgot how much I loved his descriptions of food and just atmosphere in general. That is amazing, and it's always making me hungry when I read these books. It's kind of like Game of Thrones. It's just all the food that they describe sounds incredible. But yeah, there's a very melancholy feeling to these books, but it's a very emotionally resonant feeling because of how well he does the characters. And so I'm reading the finale to this, Price of Spring, in September, and I cannot wait, even though I'll probably be sad that the series is over again, but it is just fantastic. So I would definitely recommend this to anyone who is interested because I just think it's one of the best. The second book that I finished in the month of August was Blood of Dragons by Robin Hobb, which is the 4th and final book in the Rainwild Chronicles. And I gave this 4.75 stars, and I really enjoyed this as a conclusion to the Rainwild Chronicles, and there are certain things that stand out to me, like the development of the characters and the dragons being included as characters and sort of the relationships, and there are definitely a few occurrences of characters getting what they deserve, whether that is in a positive sense for characters who deserve good things or the opposite of that. But to be honest, this is the type of series where, and I feel this way generally about Robin Hobb, where unless I focus very specifically on what I remember about how each book ended, they all kind of blend together. So while I know that I enjoyed Blood of Dragons very much, I just kind of remember what happened in the Rainwild Chronicles as a whole. I don't necessarily remember what happened in Blood of Dragons. This also could potentially be because I didn't get that much time to actually be part of the buddy read for this, just through like work and like preparing for my trip to the UK and just everything in between. Like, I listened to what messages I could and I contributed when I could, but as a whole, yeah, I really didn't get a chance to like discuss in depth too much about this one. And I think that contributes to not remembering specific events quite as well. But I know that there were some very satisfying character arc stuff in here that I really, really liked. And I think that I felt more positively about it than most of our buddy reads. So I don't know. I don't know exactly what their thoughts were on what they didn't like, but I do know that I really enjoyed it. The third thing that I finished in August was another 5-star, which was This Is How You Lose the Time War by Amal El-Motar and Max Gladstone. And this is, well, this book has made its rounds and it's been pretty popular, so I don't think I need to do like an in-depth summary of what this is about, but this is like a soft sci-fi about two rival agents on either side of a time war, and they basically just like go throughout time, dropping subtle like notes for each other in various formats where they're having this correspondence through letters. And it is really, really just gorgeously written, and it's like a little bit confusing, but the sci-fi is really kind of meant to be fuzzy in my opinion. Like, there's a lot going on, but you don't need to understand the details because the set piece and like the focus is the relationship between red and blue throughout this book, and it's really, really emotional and fascinating and like just so well written. And I love the idea that each of these people has a different like style of thinking and writing, because this is two authors kind of like putting personality into each of the characters. So this was just, I thought it was gorgeous. I loved it. So I would definitely recommend, if you were for some reason on the fence about whether you should read this, you should definitely read it. The next book that I finished in August was Labyrinths Heart, the third and final book in the Rook and Rose trilogy, which was my most anticipated book of the year. And so I gave this 4.75 stars. I didn't love it quite as much as I loved The Liar's Knot, but I still did love it. Part of this is I think that endings in general are just very bittersweet for me. So I think that like maybe the momentum felt different. There was also a lot of threads to wrap up here. And so I think that they did a fantastic job. Don't get me wrong, because like 4.75 stars is like damn near 5 stars. But I think that there was just a lot for them to do, and so sometimes the cadence was a little off or the pacing, but all in all, I thought that this was a perfectly like appropriate conclusion for the series. It did so much of what I wanted it to do. It answered our questions. It provided like emotional catharsis for our characters. It really like it brought some of them together, and once again, like, you see some people getting what they deserve that you've been waiting for the whole series, and you see a lot of the found family really come to fruition, because once a lot of the more plot type threads are wrapped up, there was some more time to focus on where our characters were emotionally and the relationships that they have built throughout the course of the series, and allow them to like enjoy those a little bit and actually like just experience their genuine connection. And so yeah, I was like really, really happy with how this series concluded. I definitely can't wait to reread it someday, just because this still was a very intricate book. And I think that if I reread it, I would pick up on so many more things and be able to start to like piece together the magic and the politics sooner, and maybe like follow along better in my own brain, because they will give you the information that you need if you need to know something. But if they didn't do that, there is a lot of moving parts, there is a lot of details, and it is very impressive to me the way that all of this was balanced perfectly and the way that it all came together in the end. So yeah, this was a great experience for me. I am kind of sad that I didn't get to do a video review for it, but such is life. I'm really grateful that I got to read the arc of this, and of course I bought a physical copy because I would want to complete my series, but also I would want to support M.A. Carrick as well. And yeah, I did love this book, so I hope that everybody else, as they read it and complete the series, is feeling the same way as me. The next book that I finished in August is another big chunky boy, and that is The Grace of Kings by Ken Liu. So I really enjoyed this. I gave it 4.25 stars, but I do have a dedicated video for this book because this was Abby from Abby Salter's pick for me for Reading Booktuber's favorites, which I pulled out of the jar in August. So basically, I don't want to go too in-depth on my thoughts. This is the start of an epic fantasy series. It is quite a military-based fantasy series, but it also has the kind of mythological feeling storytelling style, and we follow a lot of characters, a broad range of locations, but we do focus in on a few characters and we follow them over a large portion of their life, and it is a very fascinating story. So if you are interested in more of my in-depth thoughts on The Grace of Kings, please do check out that video. And then the final book that I finished in August on the very last day of the month was the audiobook for Finlay Donovan Jumps the Gun by Elle Cosimano, and this is the third book in the Finlay Donovan series. And for me, this one was better than the second one. I enjoyed it more. I know that as this series goes on, it may fall prey to sort of repetitive storylines, but I really enjoyed this one, I think personally, because I love a story where the author chooses an insular setting where everyone is kind of in the same place, and it doesn't exactly follow the Agatha Christie mystery type format, but it has that type of element where they're trying to solve something and they kind of have all their suspects in the same place. They have a limited number of people and they're trying to find clues and put things together, all the while trying to avoid people who want to hurt them or blackmail them or whatever. And so I think that a lot of my enjoyment came from the book having the same qualities as the first two in terms of humor and personality of the characters and stuff like that, but the setting was just one of my personal favorites, and so I really enjoyed this one. The first one is still my favorite by far, but after enjoying this one more than the second one, I think that will mean I will pick up the fourth one and see what I think. These are they're easy reads for me. I'll get the audiobook and then I'll listen to it in the car on my way to and from work, and I'll have it done in less than 2 weeks, depending on how much I work during that stretch. And it's just it's just fun. These aren't a lot of a commitment for me, so just as long as they're still enjoyable, I'll keep picking them up. So like I said, 4.25 stars still means that I really enjoyed it, and I'm glad that my hold finally came through, because this book came out in January and my hold for the audiobook only came due in August. So it was a bit of a long time coming, but it was a pleasant surprise, and I'm glad that I listened to it, and I really liked it. So that is the seventh and final thing to talk about that I read in the month of August. And I know we're well into September at this point, but I just wanted to get August wrapped up and out of the way to make sure that I have talked about all of those books that I read, because as you can tell by the ratings, it was a really good month and I did really enjoy what I read. So if you have any thoughts, if you've read any of these books, let me know in the comments what you think. I'm happy to chat with you about them. Please like this video if you liked it. Subscribe if you want to see more from me. As always, I'll have Discord and socials linked in the description if you're interested, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. Bye!